Healthy watersheds, they're really important. Most people are downstream water users. That's where our drinking water comes from. Ranching is one of those activities on the landscape that works well with watershed health. You're preserving the riparian area, you're preserving native grasses, you're getting that water infiltrating into the soil, you're recharging aquifers, attenuating the floods because you have that riparian area to help buffer the flood damage. All things that help to build a healthy watershed. Working with the ranchers, we're able to learn from them and also share some of our knowledge from a science perspective and help them better manage more sustainable grazing practices in the long term. Specifically with this project, we have riparian health results from 20 years ago, and then about 10 years ago, and then we did it about 2 years ago. And we saw that riparian health improved over time, I think on all of the sites, or almost all of the sites that we looked at. And there was maybe 4 different ranches. And so that was really great to see, they've changed their management over time. Like, things have happened, there's been floods, there's been fires, and even all those things that they can't control, they were still able to manage their riparian areas and improve health over time.
When I got involved with cows and fish, they helped me to notice a lot of things on the creek, on the Jumping Pound Creek and in the riparian area. One of the things was that we have about 3 miles of creek in a certain reach of the ranch. There's not many cottonwoods, there's not many deep holes. And the Jumping Pound is one of the main spawning tributaries to the Bull River. So I got together with Trouts Unlimited, with Buck for Wildlife, and we dug spawning pools. We also dug resting pools. We tried planting willows. It didn't work. This reach is just not meant to sustain that kind of bank. What we did find is if we let the cattle just have free access to the creek, the banks would cave in and fill up those spawning pools and those resting pools that we had done. So now we do have riparian fields where we can put the cows in for a certain amount of time when the banks are not soft, so they don't erode the banks and fill in the resting pools that we've done. And that's worked really, really well. But again, it has to be grazed or it's not healthy.
The grazing principles really help to ensure that those functions are happening in the watershed. Distributing your cattle appropriately, so not having them in the riparian area in the spring. That's going to help allow the vegetation to grow. You're not going to get the soil compaction. And then if you have that soil compaction, that's going to prevent water infiltration. It's going to prevent plants from growing. And you need those plants with their fingers to hold the bank together, to slow down the water in a flood. Having that moist soil and healthy riparian area actually increases the water in the aquifer, which actually helps with fires as well, because you have a higher water table, which keeps the plants greener, which makes a lower fire risk. So all of those types of grazing principles implemented will help improve the health of the watershed.
For us, I think it's been changes in our management strategies to make sure that the ranch is economically viable. And I think that makes it more appealing for our kids to want to come back, so that they can know that they can not just have a good life, but also a comfortable life.
With our grazing practices, we've discovered free grass. We've increased our acres without having to buy any acres and really improved our bottom line. The land was lacking nutrients and water holding capacity from being continually hayed and no organic matter being put back on the soil. So we were really focused on rest and rotation grazing, just in here for a week or so and then leaving, and then also with this feed residual. You can see how we just had some rain, but how wet it is underneath all this old feed, and it really holds the soil moisture. Your biggest limiting nutrient in your grass is water, not nitrogen. So we want to keep as much water on the soil, and it'll slowly infiltrate through the soil and get clean and end up in springs and in the natural water cycle.
It definitely takes a community to work together to maintain watershed health. We're not there telling people what to do. It's people saying that they want to make a change or they want to implement something, and we're just trying to facilitate them doing that.
Well, it's just a win-win for you. You get education, somebody to help you with any difficulties you might be having. It's somebody to bounce ideas off, They're not there to look down on you. They're not there to judge you. They're just there to help you in the kindest, friendliest manner possible.
The conservation easement that we have here on part of the ranch basically says we can continue the agriculture practices that we currently do now. It allows us our flexibility to ranch. And if it is ever sold, it must remain as agriculture.
We're trying really hard to make sure that this land stays as a ranch and stays being grazed because it is so vital to the water cycle and to the grass and to the environment. So salt is one of the ways that we're looking at making sure that that happens, is possibly with a conservation easement, because we're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And if we want to make sure that the land is going to perpetually be as a ranch, then that's one of the best ways we can do it.
Alberta's foothills are so valuable and so important for the long-term health of our urban centers, of our towns and cities. There is a direct link to our water, the quality, the quantity of our water, our flooding, our drought. And so we need to start to think about these landscapes as an amazing asset. And the people that are managing them, we need to look at them as partners.